Walmart just crossed $1 trillion market valuation. That puts it in the same club as Apple, Microsoft, companies that we instinctively associate with innovation, cultural power in the future. But scroll to the comments under the major news outlets' coverage of the announcements, and the tone changes fast. People aren't celebrating, they're arguing about wages, about food stamps, about checkout lines, about whether Walmart represents American opportunity or American failure. And that contradiction is the real juicy story, because Walmart didn't become $1 trillion company by being loved. It became one by being relied on. To understand Walmart's brand power, you have to understand the mythology that it has carefully protected for decades. There are two parallel rags to riches stories at the heart of the company. The first centers a young farm boy called Sam Walton. In 1960s Rogers, Arkansas, this everyday man, obsessed with efficiency, low margins, and passing savings on to customers, founded the retail giant that we know today as Walmart, focusing on a high-volume, low-margin model that brought discount prices to rural America. Starting with a single variety store after World War II, his relentless work ethic and customer-centric focus and innovative distribution strategies built the world's largest corporation. This story is repeated so often that it risks sounding quaint, but that's actually the point. It positions Walmart not as an elite institution, but as the people's company. The second story is contemporary, and its protagonist is still alive and in the media. Doug McMillon. This young, tenacious worker started as an associate, worked summers unloading trucks, went to college, earned an MBA, and came back, eventually rising all the way to CEO. He accomplished the true American dream at a time that it was still possible. The classic story of applying to every local business, getting your foot in the door at poverty wages as a teen, and then staying the course until you inevitably get promoted and land into a power seat where you can earn your riches and retire at a pleasant age 60. McMillon's arc matters, and together with Walter, this forms a brand narrative loop. A founder who came from nothing, and a CEO who climbed from the bottom. This is a company that claims upward mobility is still possible. Whether that's true in practice is debatable, but as corporate mythology, it's incredibly powerful. And Walmart understands that mythology isn't fluff, it's strategic installation. An assumption that I've heard that's worth challenging is that Walmart's success comes from ruthless cost-cutting alone. That's incomplete. Walmart's real advantage has always been operational discipline disguised as humility. The folksy tone, plain language, and absence of prestige signaling aren't accidents. They're strategic choices. While competitors raced to the bottom on pricing or competed on convenience metrics, Walmart did pay attention to these things, but they accomplished these benchmarks by sharpening their operational systems. Inventory discipline, vendor pressure, logistics mastery, and relentless process optimization. This culture made Walmart boring to talk about, but extraordinarily hard to beat. And that discipline is what enabled everything that came later. E-commerce, automation, omnichannel fulfillment, and data-driven retail at a planetary scale. The humble founder, humble CEO narrative wasn't just good PR. It gave Walmart permission to invest patiently and without spectacle. About a decade ago, it wasn't obvious that Walmart would survive the world transitioning away from retail. The rise of Amazon was a huge threat, and even Warren Buffett sold his shares in Walmart. Amazon had speed, they had tech credibility, they had cultural relevance, and Walmart had parking lots. For a while, it looked like Amazon would simply eat retail whole. But in this inflection point, Walmart realized that they didn't need to out-Amazon Amazon. They needed to redefine what infrastructure meant. Walmart's 4,000 plus stores were rethought as latent logistic hubs rather than liabilities. They had everything they needed to implement widespread curbside pickup, local delivery, same-day fulfillment, and returns without friction. This would serve their customers on every pillar that Amazon monopolized. But to lean in, they would have to make several investments that were capital intensive, operationally boring, and completely unglamorous. This wasn't a branding story yet. It was a systems bet, and it worked. In every story that we tell about a cultural moment, you know that we will find the role that branding played. In the road to $1 trillion valuation, branding was the translator. Last year, Walmart launched a polished brand identity, which they allegedly paid over $1 million for. To the untrained eye, things may have looked the exact same, but I'm certain that the experience of the brand has shifted for every single shopper. They implemented cleaner typography, a digital-first flexibility, brighter screen-optimized colors, and a system that works across all screens, stores, and logistics interfaces. Importantly, it didn't erase Walmart's heritage. It just refined it. And I actually think that the power in the rebrand completed by JKR was its subtlety. The rebrand made the company intelligible to investors, media, and marketplaces. This is why you started seeing Walmart.com sponsorships everywhere. Not because Walmart became suddenly cool, but because it became credible as a platform. Walmart influencer sponsorships signaled marketplace maturity, seller trust, and the cultural normalization of shopping Walmart online. But where there is big money, there is always ugly behavior. For every person praising former CEO Doug McMillon as a humane, grounded leader, there are people calling the company out for low worker wages that cause welfare reliance. And when a company celebrates being valued at over $1 trillion, an unimaginable amount of money, it's difficult to understand why they can't afford to pay everyone a healthy salary. And critics would argue that they can indeed afford to, but choose not to, for unscrupulous reasons. Walmart sits at the intersection of capital markets, labor markets, government assistance, and everyday survival. And somehow they profit from every single one of those levers, with tens of thousands of low-paid workers laboring for them, but then requiring SNAP benefits that they likely spend at stores like Walmart. This makes these issues emotionally charged in ways that most brands never are. Two things can be true at once. Walmart can be operationally brilliant and financially dominant, while also being morally contested for good reason. Refusing to hold these two ideas together is where most commentary falls apart. Walmart's future will likely explore automation, AI-driven logistics, private labels, healthcare, financial services, EV infrastructure, and platform economics. But scale cuts both ways. Every efficiency gain raises ethical scrutiny. Every margin improvement magnifies labor pressure. Every systems win deepens public dependence. Walmart doesn't get to be neutral anymore, even if it wants to be. So what does Walmart's $1 trillion valuation actually teach us? First, visual identity doesn't replace strategy. It reveals it. And sometimes, boring excellence compounds faster than hype. Lastly, you don't need to be loved to be dominant, but you do need legitimacy to survive the long term. Walmart didn't become a $1 trillion company by changing who it was. It became one by finally understanding and systematizing what it had already built. And whether that future is admirable or alarming, well, that depends on who you ask. If you're thinking seriously about brand, systems, and long-term value creation, this is the work we do at Atelier Oluwatosin, a brand consultancy using strategy and visuals to turn bold visions into inevitabilities. Reach out to us to start a conversation.